Live event Friday night for guests. So if you like what you see here tonight, you can come do it for yourself Friday night.
Awesome. So Jill, we also have some paranormal investigators here. Jill, why don't you introduce us to them?
Sure. I'd love to introduce Jeremy, who's with Genesis Paranormal, and Rich, who is with Kissimmee Paranormal. These are two of the teams that are going to be with us Friday night leading the investigation. And as we go through the evening, they're going to tell us a little bit about the tools of their trade, the equipment that they use to investigate buildings like Tampa Theater.
Great, awesome. So one of the things that we all have on our phones right now is a ghost app. It is called, just so I don't forget the name, it's Ghost Radar Classic. It's the Ghost Radar. So tell us a little bit about what the Ghost Radar does that we have on our phone.
Oh, you can hold it? Okay, I want to take it now. The Ghost Radar app is it's a fun, neat little tool that if you want to download it, it uses the phone's own magnetics and EMF to actually, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. To actually stream spirit, a quote-unquote spirit, can actually use the phone's actual magnetics and EMF to create a word or allow you to detect where it is and on the phone app itself. There's a radar on there, so if you see a spot that blips up in front of you, well, that's where it's coming from. Quote unquote, it's all in theory.
Right.
Yeah,
so I had just updated my Facebook post earlier today on my profile to say that, oh, we're going live, and I was on my way over here, and it said, it had a couple of blips on the screen, and it said live. So I don't know if that was a coincidence or not.
Tonight.
Exactly. So first off, we're going to start out here. This is the only known death on the property. Is that right?
Let's take a few steps inside, and I'd love to tell you the story of Robert Lanier.
All right. Come on, guys. We're headed into the Tampa Theater now with Jill and our paranormal investigators. All right.
So as you mentioned, we only have one confirmed death on the property while it has been Tampa Theater. In the 50s, we had a gentleman named Robert Lanier who worked here as a ticket taker. And Robert's shtick, if you will, when he took the ticket, is he would take the ticket from the guest, he would click his heels together, spin around, and hand you back your ticket. So Robert worked here for many years. Everybody knew who he was because of his showmanship. Well, one morning, May 29th, 1959, when the opening crew came to open the theater for the morning, they found Robert dead, right where we're standing. The back of his skull had been crushed in. Now, as it was a Friday, that was payday, they never found his paycheck. So they don't know if he was robbed. They don't know if perhaps he was just fell while he was practicing his spin and hit his head on the tile. But unfortunately, he had bled to death right here in the space between our box office and the front doors. In 2005, we had a group called Spirits of Paranormal come in to investigate the building. This is known as one of the most haunted buildings in Tampa, so we do get calls pretty often from groups wanting to come in. And when the woman came in, she was a psychic, she was sensitive to spirit activity. She kept talking about the Confederate soldier, and she couldn't figure out why there would be a Civil War soldier roaming this area at the front of the building. Well, the more she described him to the people that were here, the more she realized that what she was seeing wasn't a Confederate soldier, it was the buttons on an usher's coat. So we still think Robert was here. In fact, last year when Genesis Paranormal was here with us, they did a lot of recording out here. They had a lot of their EMF meters out here. We actually did pick up some EVPs, and I'll let Jeremy tell you what that is in just a couple minutes. But what we found is that it's only at the beginning of events. That's the only time he's out here. We came back later in the evening, and he was gone. So, of course, a ticket taker, where is he going to be but at the front door at the beginning of the show?
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So you guys were the ones who saw it, who saw the readings.
Well, we did conduct some experiments out here, and we did run audio. We had a camera that was actually pointing down this way, and we did have a couple investigators come down with digital recorders to try and capture something. Well, upon review of we didn't hear anything during the time of the investigation, but upon review, one of the investigators who was doing an EVP session, there was like a whisper that said the name James, and we couldn't figure out what correlation the name James had, but his name is Travis. That's his middle name. And come to find out later on, his first name was James.
Oh.
So, kind of spooky, but definitely interesting.
Continue to tweet us at #ABC Ghost Hunt. If you see me looking down at my phone, it's because I'm looking at the ghost radar.
And what word is it saying?
It is saying Florida, actually. So it says Florida. Should we go inside and we'll go take a look at some of the equipment that we have with us? Okay, so is everybody in? All right. So what do we have here?
Okay,
What
we
are some of the
have.
things that we would use
Okay,
in
we
a
got a
reading like
couple of
tonight?
EMF detectors here. These detect the electromagnetic field, and this is it's a digital one. It's not a fancy one like some of the other ones there with the lights going on. But this one here, it'll help detect different areas in the house or everywhere where we're at where there's high EMFs in it. A lot of times, a lot of people don't realize it, but alarm clocks, they have them right by their head. We'll peg this thing all the time.
Right.
I don't know why, but the alarm clocks do. You know, so a lot of people say they're having trouble sleeping at night, and maybe a spirit. We found using this and some of the other equipment, we discussed that it's because of the alarm clock. We just tell them to move it to the other side of the room. You know. We also have. Oh, I forgot you didn't have batteries in them. This one here, it's just all it is the temperature gauge. It detects the difference in the temperature in the air. I like this one here because I mean, if somebody's saying that they're getting a cold spot or so, we could throw this up on it, and we have documented proof now, and instead of just hearsay.
Now, what would a cold spot typically indicate?
A cold spot, okay, when spirits are near, the theory is that when spirits are near, what they'll do is they draw energy. Well, when you draw energy out of the air, you create a void there, and the void turns cold. So basically, it's saying that there's there may be a possible spirit nearby. So that's basically what we use this for. Most of the teams out there have some form of a DVR system. Jeremy has that one.
It's not turned on right now,
Okay,
but
what would this do?
well, what these do, these are infrared cameras. These allow us to see in the dark. The great thing about these is it allows us to pick up, visual. But a lot of times, what we use these for is to document the entire experience. Not just when we leave an environment alone by itself, but to document our own experiences, which if you come to the event this Friday, I'll tell you a story about a personal event that I had experienced that was actually documented using this device, which was pretty awesome. So, but again, these allow us to see in the dark. They use infrared, which penetrates the darkness, which that's not always where the ghosts are, but it is a light spectrum that we cannot see with our naked eye. So the theory is that we use these devices, whether it's infrared or ultraviolet, those see in spectrums that we can't see with the naked eye. It opens up the possibilities to what could be in those other spectrums.
Now, what are some of the things that you have seen here at the Tampa Theater?
As far as with these, we have caught some light anomalies that we can't explain. There have been other claims, recent claims of people seeing these light anomalies. We've caught in several with this. There was actually one clip that we caught in the main auditorium, which is and we do a lot of scrutinizing as far as using these type of devices, because what you'll get is a lot of dust and a lot of other things that could be misconstrued as paranormal activity, you know, orbs and whatnot. But we caught a light source that just seemed, I mean, in proportion to the chairs, it was probably the size of like a softball, just shoot down over the top of the seats and just hover and then vanish with this device. So can't say that's paranormal activity, but it was certainly not something I've ever seen before.
Right, it was unusual.
So yeah, very unusual.
All right, let's bring Jill in here. Sure. And Jill, where are you gonna take us next?
Well, let's head into the auditorium and we can tell you the story of the man in the fedora. And then we're also going to go downstairs and see our dressing rooms that have been here since the vaudeville era.
Okay, great. Now, if you're just joining us, we are doing a live paranormal investigation here at the Tampa Theater in downtown Tampa. The Tampa Theater was built in the 1920s.
Built in 1926. We were one of several movie palaces downtown, and unfortunately over the years the movie industry changed. The need for these old theaters, you know, we're only a one-screen theater, and that's a tough business model these days for a movie theater. But we were very lucky in the 70s that the city saw fit to save us, and we are now owned by the city of Tampa, but we're programmed by the Tampa Theater Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And we love this time of year because, of course, we live with the ghosts here all year long, but we love telling other folks about them in October.
Right. Now, if you're also just joining us on Friday, the Tampa Theater is actually holding a live paranormal investigation at 10 o'clock Friday night. It's open to the public. You just have to purchase tickets in advance. Is that correct?
If you go on tampatheater.org, there are still tickets available. The event itself is from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Now, as Jeremy mentioned, it doesn't have to be dark for there to be ghosts. It doesn't have to be the middle of the night. But let's face it, it's more fun in the middle of the night. So we bring everybody in. We've got Jeremy's crew with Genesis Paranormal. We've got Rich's crew, Kissimmee Paranormal. We've also got a group called Fire and Ice that comes in and works with us. Jeremy mentioned that theirs is a more scientific group. They look for scientific evidence. But there are other folks in the paranormal investigation world that are sensitives. They can walk into a room and they can feel things. They can see things. And Fire and Ice has a member that is like that, and she is fantastic. So she will be here Friday night as well, kind of giving us the more spiritual aspect of it, what she sees and senses and feels. But why we stopped right here is this seat right here.
I just want to point out that my ghost radar says chair, and there is a blue dot right where that chair is on 308, where the man in the fedora is said to sit. Is that correct?
This is the man in the fedora seat.
There's actually multiple right here, but
Yours is pinging.
Yours is pinging. Ooh.
Oh, mine's going off in my pocket. I can feel it. I've got it in my back pocket. So the story.
and it says held too.
Oh.
So, sorry, I have to narrate all of it, but
Yeah,
I don't know what's
exactly.
happening over here. But
Well, from what we
Maybe
know
he
about
wants
the
us to
man in
go
the
away.
fedora, he likes the girls. So he's probably very happy we're standing here in front of him. The story that goes along with this actually comes from my predecessor. I've been with theater for about 2 years. My predecessor, Tara, was here for 25 years. And she would tell a story around ghost tour time that she was walking through the back of the auditorium one day. Now, keep in mind that most of the time during the day, the building's closed. We're all here, but we don't have anything going on. So she was walking through the back of the auditorium, and she thought she saw, sitting around this area, a man in a fedora. And so she called out to him because there shouldn't have been anybody in the building at the time. And according to Tara, he stood up, turned around and looked at her, and disappeared. Now, keep in mind that Tara never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I always had my suspicions that maybe this was something that she had augmented a little bit just so she would have a personal story to tell when it came to ghost tours. So when Jeremy and his group came in last year, when we started working on this event the first time we did it last year, I said, you know, bring your recorders, look around that area. If we see anything, great. If we don't get anything, I'm going to strike it from the tour because I don't think there's much to it. So after they did all their recording, they were here one night. They came back a few weeks later, and I said, okay, what's the verdict? Are we getting rid of the man in the fedora? And the look on Jeremy's face, he said, oh no, no, we need to keep that story in, and I'll tell you why. The anomaly, the light anomaly that he talked about was this seat. It came
look at
across this
that.
row, dropped right here. We also got some great recordings around this area. Again, those EVPs, which stands for electronic, help me out, Jeremy.
The EMF?
EVPs.
Or EVP, electronic voice phenomena. Thank you.
Voice phenomenon. The idea being that if you run a tape recorder, you may not hear things, but while you're sitting there. But like Jeremy was saying, with the name out front, sometimes when you go back and listen to the tape, there are things on the tape. So that happened right here. Obviously, the meters are going nuts, and you guys can probably explain better than me what the meters are doing.
Well, these detect electromagnetic fields. Basically, what we'll do when we go into any building, I'm lighting up right now, but as you can see, the strange thing is that when we go into a building or a home, we'll use these devices to get a base reading. What we're doing is we're ruling out all the electrical devices and your plugs and your appliances that give off EMF. And EMF is constant. Okay. Now the theory is that spirits could be made up of electromagnetic field. So once we have a base reading, we know what's giving off the electromagnetic field, and we use these devices in areas where there shouldn't be any electromagnetic fields, and we start getting readings like this. That is not supposed to happen. It could be a spirit trying to communicate, could be a spirit trying to manifest itself, but 9 times out of 10, when you get a constant signal like this, well, when it dissipates, I can't explain that, but when you get a constant signal, it's supposed to be a current or electricity running through here, but you said there's nothing through here.
There are not conduits here.
Yeah.
Now,
and this is always lit up here every time we come here. It's kind of unusual.
And it gives us a time and a place when we do see stuff like that. Okay, now we focus a little more equipment here, a little more time and effort in this general area to see if we can figure out the reason why. You know?
Right. But we'll probably conduct more tests. We'll try and dig deeper to find out what's really causing this device to go off. We'll try and rule out all those things before we say it's quote unquote paranormal.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
we have to be
have
real
our
with
share-
ourselves. We
yes.
do. We've got to try and find the real reason first. We can't just what was that? You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have our own fair share of skeptics out there. We had a couple on our Facebook page, and when we were talking about doing the paranormal investigation, which is totally natural, and this is just one of those things that it's interesting to see what is happening here. So.
And from our perspective at the theater, the way we feel about it is if you believe in it, it's fun. If you don't believe in it, there's still great stories about the history of the building and the stuff that happened here.
Exactly. So what are you picking up over there?
Just an electromagnetic source that I can't explain. And I keep trying to find the source, but this building is so old, and it gets stronger the closer I get to the seat. And each electromagnetic field device is different, one from the next. Some are more sensitive than others. Some will pick up a stronger signal, and then some are actually more sensitive. They won't pick up a signal until it's really, really close.
Funny, right at 3:08.
And a tip for the rest of you guys who all have your phones over there, take pictures. Especially if you start seeing the meters go off, take pictures of the area. Even if you don't see anything right now, you may see something when you look at the pictures later.
Which is a good point. So if you're watching from home on your tablet, mobile device, or on the website, you may be seeing things that we're not seeing
Please
here.
call us
Who
if
knows?
that happens.
Yes. So let us know.
And here's a little tip. I'm sorry.
Oh,
if
no,
you're going to
okay.
take a picture, ask for permission. They might actually.
I should have done that.
They might.
Oh, they might
They
actually say.
they were once people. May I take your picture, please? They might actually go, okay.
We have one of our investigators that whenever he decided to take a picture, everybody liked having a picture taken. So he used to just put his hands up, say, "Come on, everybody, let's have a picture." Give a couple minutes, then we take a picture, and we were getting positive results from it.
Sure.
Group photo.
Exactly.
Let's take selfies.
Go selfies. Exactly.
So where can we go to next?
Let's head downstairs.
Okay. All right.
This
let's
is a
go,
new
guys.
stop that we actually didn't do on the tour last year. We had some stories from downstairs. Actually, the most prevalent story from downstairs was from Harry Anderson, who was the magician. He was the judge on Night Court, also a little bit of a spiritualist. And he came to Tampa Theater to do a show, and he was staying in one of these dressing rooms. Now, these rooms have been here since the vaudeville era. They've been here since the theater was built. And after a few minutes, he left the dressing room and said, "I can't stay down there. I can't tell you why. It doesn't feel right. I can't stay in that room." So we had to move him to a different location. We didn't do it on the tour last year because, again, we've never really had any other reports besides that. But when Fire and Ice brought the sensitive in a couple of months ago, she said that there very most definitely was a spirit presence down here. She called him the trickster.
Oh, okay. So yes, if you're looking over here, this is one of the dressing rooms. We are in the innards of the Tampa Theater right now.
Yes, we are downstairs. Tampa Theater is actually one of the only buildings in town with a true basement. We all know you don't build basements in Florida because of the high water table, but our Chicago-based architect in 1926 didn't know that, so he built us a basement, and that's where we are now.
Okay.
You guys are getting all kinds of stuff
Well,
above my head
there's a
here.
lot of pipes and electricity
Yeah.
down here, so you're going to get just constant. I mean, it's lit up here. And so earlier we were talking about a fear cage. Jill had mentioned, and this would be a good example, especially if you have somebody who's working down here constantly, who's exposed to the high MF, 8 hours a day. Electromagnetic fields can actually have an effect on the human body and your mind. I mean, they can cause nausea. They can make you think that you're hallucinating. It'll make you feel like you're being watched. And so, that's one of the theories that, electromagnetic fields, when you think that you're experiencing paranormal phenomenon, it just means that you're probably exposed to high EMF, and it can have an effect on you, thinking that what you're experiencing is paranormal when in fact you're having a reaction to the electromagnetic field. Power lines, people who live near power lines, and different people are more sensitive to it and can react in different ways. You can get sick from it, nauseas, headaches. I mean, it could be really bad if you're exposed to it for long periods of time.
I know a couple of people that cannot go into a place with high EMS because they'll get an instant headache. Me, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
But people also aren't aware of how many things in their house or in places like this that will automatically give off high EMS. Which, like Jeremy said, all the wires here,
It's just
lit. you have
So there'd be no way for you to tell right now if we're seeing something other than the wires.
Well, not with these devices. But I'll tell you that we did a walkthrough a couple months ago with our friends at Fire and Ice Paranormal and our friend Red. She's a sensitive, and she's one I trust, among sensitives in the world. So when she speaks, I listen. And she wasn't, we'd use devices and we'd come down here, we'd pick up EMF, but, she has a natural ability to pick up other things, and she was getting something in this dressing room right here.
Oh, okay.
And,
how do we come over here and take a look inside this
so
dressing room?
we've
Is
been
this the one we're
actually-
hearing just something?
It's dark in here right now, but we've been making it a point to pay more attention based on Red's observations of what she has seen down here to conduct experiments. Who is it that you said that had an experience? Harry Anderson.
Yeah.
Harry Anderson had an experience down here that apparently he didn't want to talk about. But what Red had said that was down here, her impression was of a man, and with a grin, as if he was waiting for you to come in here.
Oh, the trickster.
Yeah, as we were setting up that evening, she asked, she said, make sure we
Oh,
put, at
that's
least
not
put a
good.
camera in this room here, and a recorder or something, so we had something, in case something happened, because this is where she was since floods and stuff.
So we haven't caught any evidence down here yet. That's because we haven't spent enough time down here, but we're going to spend more time down here based on Red's recommendations.
We
See what
haven't
turns
gone-
up.
We still haven't gone through all the footage we have for that night. too.
There's so much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's absolutely so much of it.
So again,
Of
if
course,
you're
the music.
so again, if you're joining us, we are live inside the Tampa Theater. We're with Jill Witecki and the paranormal investigators, and we're taking a walk through the basement
Yes.
of the Tampa Theater, and we're going to go on to our next stop. Where's that going to be?
Let's head up to the mezzanine next. Talk about the woman in white.
Now, if you are looking for more information about some of the souls that are said to lurk around here, we have some more information on abcactionnews.com on our story on the website. There are some of the stories that we're going to talk about tonight as we head up now to the mezzanine.
And we also want to make sure folks know that not only is the event Friday night going to be going on, the Ghost Tour, but this is actually part of a bigger event. Tampa Theater, for the second year in a row, is doing an event called A Nightmare on Franklin Street, and it's our Halloween programming. So we started on Friday night with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tonight we had Little Shop of Horrors playing, but all week, all night, every night, from now until Halloween, we've got movies, we've got an evening of live storytelling, we've got ghost tours. Besides the paranormal event, we do just some regular ghost tours, just walking around telling the stories. And actually we have one tomorrow morning at 11:30. So we encourage people to go on tampatheater.org, check out all the programming. You know, if this isn't your speed, we've got an evening of live ghost stories with Deb Fretham, who is a local author who has written several books on haunted Tampa. We've got a whole day of family movies. We're going to be showing The Witches and Frankenweenie.
Oh, cool.
So whatever Halloween means to you, chances are we've got something going on that matches.
Yeah. The decor is just so beautiful here. I mean, everything is very ornate. If you look at some of the detail and some of the and in the architecture, I mean, it's definitely a very beautifully constructed.
They just don't build them like this anymore. You know, when in 1926, each movie studio had its own theater. We were built as a Paramount theater. And they put a lot of time and effort and money into these because these were the show palaces for their films. And we were very lucky. We were built by an architect named John Eberson, who was kind of the guy during that time period who was building theaters. So to say today that you have an Eberson in your community is like saying you have a Rembrandt in your art collection. And we were so fortunate that out of all the theaters in town, out of all of them that the community chose to save, they picked this one.
So up here is said to be the Lady in Waiting.
The lady in white, the woman in white, she is the other confirmed death on the property. The difference being that she died here before the theater was here. According to the story, according to the research, she was actually struck by a stagecoach and killed out on Franklin Street. And when Red was here, the sensitive was coming through the building. As soon as she got up to the top of these stairs out here, she felt it. And she felt that sensation. Now, keep in mind, I don't mean to interrupt myself, but when these sensitives come in the building, we haven't told them any of these stories. So their reaction is fresh. You know, they don't have that one sheet that I gave you when you got in here.
Right.
So when she got to the top of the stairs and grabbed her stomach and said, I feel like somebody was hit, there's been trauma, there's been, you know, somebody, their body has been wrecked. You know, it kind of lends
Interesting.
credence to some of the stories.
What are you getting right now?
Oh, body.
Body.
Oh,
Yeah,
body.
there you go. And apparently she's right here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, am I glowing? So actually, the spot that the woman in white usually hangs out in is a little farther down the hall. So
Okay.
let's walk down there and see if any of the meters pick up anything.
Now, has she been spotted by anybody in your on the Tampa Theater staff?
Yes. Well, she has been spotted in the past, and then her activities have also been spotted. There are two different stories. One is by one of our volunteers who is also sensitive to paranormal activity, and she says that she has indeed seen a woman in white walking up and down the hall up here. Oh, I think they're...
We lost Bobby.
I know, they've got they're lighting up over here.
I have somebody named Fred on my app right now.
Fred?
Yes.
Oh, I still have
We-
body. Oh, I have aunt, A-U-N-T. Now,
Matthew, have you been getting anybody on your? Have you been getting any readings on your app?
Yeah, a few interesting things, words popping up here and there. This particular story kind of creeps me out because I've done this tour before, and this is the one that kind of spooks me out a little bit. Yeah, I don't know why.
Why? Have you seen her?
I don't know, just the fact that maybe the death happened before the building was here. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
and she can still haunt the building is kind of a little spooky to me.
Yeah. So you guys are picking up some readings.
It's lit up. I trying to find the source, and I just there's no telling where it could be. When it's constant like that, usually it means it's an electric source.
Yep. My app now says you're wise. Well, it says wise, but it probably means that you're wise.
Thank you, app.
So if you're just joining us too, I have downloaded and we all have on our phone right now the Ghost Radar app, which is said to pick up some electromagnetic readings, right?
Yes.
And also
Yes.
and it also will tell you what voices it hears, and it will say it on your phone. So there'll be a little voice that says what it's saying. And right now it says matter, so I think maybe they're saying it doesn't matter. I'm not sure. But obviously you can interpret this in any way you want.
And I
It's
feel
just
like
entertaining.
We owe it to Jeremy and Rich and the folks that work with them that, the phone app is fun and it comes up with some fun things, but this is the toy
Yes.
version. The gear that they have, they are the professionals. They do this in buildings far beyond the Tampa Theater, and we have a good time with this, but by no means can we do what they do with, although I just got two
I will
dots
be a
that popped up
believer if
right
all
in
your
front.
phones say the same word at the same time.
But please do share with our audience what happened when you were on a tour
Well,
with the
we.
app.
It was actually right over here, and we can walk over there and see if it will repeat the phenomenon. But there's a story that we tell on the tour about Joe the janitor. And Joe was here a long time ago. He has long since left this planet. But there are members of our team, and members of our team who really don't buy into this whole ghost thing, who have heard keys rattling in this door. And whenever they call out to them or start to come up the stairs to see what's going on, I just said luck. And two of my dots came back. The keys stop. The sound of the keys stops. So I was walking a tour through, and I had a group of people like we do tonight, and I got to this spot, and I started telling the story of Joe the janitor, and I was holding my phone just like I am now, and all of a sudden 3 dots showed up right around the center, which would suggest that right where I was standing there were these 3 anomalies in the electromagnetic field, and the word that came out of my phone was surrounded. And you just saw the
Yikes.
entire crowd take this unanimous step backwards, like, we're going to listen to the rest of your story, but we're going to listen to it from over there.
That's-
Outer now.
Huh, maybe. Well,
But the woman in white, that is an interesting story. Like you said, the fact that she was here before the building was built, and also just the intense reaction that Red had when she got up here. Even when she walked through the building downstairs, you can see over the balcony to that area. And as soon as she walked in the building, she pointed to the spot and said, "We need to focus a camera right there because something is going to happen." Now, I don't know that anything did, unfortunately, that night, but there was definitely that feeling that for some reason that hallway up in the mezzanine is a big deal.
so where are we going to go from here?
Well, let's see. I think, let's check our time. I think it might be time to head up to the booth. We'll start in the balcony and then we'll go up to the projection booth.
Oh, okay, the projection booth. That's one of my favorite stories.
Seeing if anything, as we come back through the hall, everybody see if anything comes back up.
Are you guys getting anything on?
Right when Jill said that the woman in white is apparently right here, my app said beside.
Oh. And we're here with the rest of the digital team. We have Heidi Barley. Misty Rogers is on our Twitter account right now, and we're tweeting live at hashtag ABC Ghost Hunt. And we also have Matthew Pleasant, who's our digital reporter producer for abcactionnews.com. We're going to head through. We're on the mezzanine now. We're going to head upstairs.
We're going to go out into our balcony.
Okay.
Really do feel like you're stepping out into the open with the sky.
I have some dots
You
that
have a
are
dot?
popping up over here. Yep.
What is your dot saying?
Anywhere are. Maybe they're trying to form a sentence. I'm not sure.
Well, this is by far one of the most beautiful views of Tampa Theater, and also the location where probably our most famous ghost resides. Between this portion of the balcony and the projection booth, that's where you get the story of Fink Finley. Now, Fink, that was his nickname, his real name was Foster. Foster Finley was our projectionist here at Tampa Theater from 1930 to 1965. Find, yes, I'm going to tell that story of how you found the knife, exactly. So Fink did not die in the building. He actually collapsed up in the booth and was taken home by his co-projectionist, where he died a couple of weeks later. However, every projectionist we have had since then has had stories about things happening up in the booth. And guests have also had stories of things happening to them as they sit in this area of the auditorium. But I think the story that, that this word reminds me of, Find, was another janitorial staff member that we had years ago. His name was Angel. And Angel worked in the building overnight, as the cleaning crew does, and had a buck knife that he carried. Now, according to the story, Angel lost his buck knife one night and couldn't find it. Looked all over the theater, could not find this knife. But he had read somewhere or heard somewhere that if you ask a ghost to help you find something that you've lost, they'll help you. So he came right up here, right to where we're standing, and addressed the building and said, "Fink Finley, ghost of Tampa Theater, where is my knife?" Looked around, turned around, of course, nothing. So he thought maybe he was doing it improperly. He shouldn't use Fink's nickname. So he tried it again. "Foster Finley, ghost of the theater, help me find my knife." And he turned around, and on the steps he had just come out, his buck knife was folded and sitting on the steps. So he
Very
thinks that
effective.
Foster helped him find his knife.
You should just
Yes,
ask.
it was a sign.
Always just ask.
I'm getting sign and a dot behind me.
I'm getting Mark. I don't know. But it's right where you are, so maybe
There you
it's
go.
either reading you or it's just hanging out right here next to us.
If you come in and you sit up in here and you're just quiet, what we have noticed in this area, especially over here somewhere, we can't pinpoint it, but what you will hear is what sounds like somebody getting up from their seat. And we'll hear that knowing that there's no one else in here, and we'll go and try and find it. And, you know, there's generally when we have teams in here, it's one team at a time. And we had a team sitting up there, and we heard it like twice over in this area. We'd get up, we'd go look, and like we were sure that nobody was down here poking around, but very interesting.
Are you
Creepy,
getting any
too.
reading? Yes. I would be scared if I heard
Oh,
that.
that probably is your,
Oh,
could
it's
be
my
your,
microphone.
I don't know. You know, step back for a second and see if it goes away.
Come over here.
I think it's your microphone.
Okay,
try that
see?
again. Yep.
Yep, see?
That's what it is.
It's all very confusing.
Now, because we only have an hour tonight, we're kind of moving through these areas pretty quickly. But on Friday night, when people come in, it's actually a 4-hour experience. So unlike this, where we've got, you know, a bunch of people, we've got this nice bright light on the camera shining at us,
On you.
we've got all of the lights in the theater on. Friday night, it will be dark. We turn all of these lights off. They've got their infrared cameras going. So it's a very different experience. If you ever watch the TV shows where they go lights out and they investigate the buildings, you know, it's not going to be one story after another after another. We're going to come into the areas, like Jeremy was saying, and just sit and listen and record and see if we can hear or see or pick up anything. So we will definitely give everybody a little more time in each of these spots just to experience the dark stillness of the building and see what comes out.
And listen.
Yes, and listen.
Just like that said. Now, the man in the fedora, the story that you told earlier, I had read that he liked to come out and listen to the mighty Wurlitzer.
Yes, our mighty Wurlitzer organ is actually original to the building. That console has been replaced, but the 1,400 pipes above and surrounding the theater, most of those are original, and that was back from the silent movie days. We opened as a silent movie house. So one of the times that Genesis was here investigating the building, we thought, why not see if that makes a difference? And we actually pulled up some recordings of Rosa Rio, who was an organist here at Tampa Theater. She was the last surviving organist from the silent movie era. She was actually 107 years old when she died and played here at Tampa Theater almost up into her death. She would come back and do concerts. So we pulled up some recordings of Rosa on YouTube and played them through speakers and watched the meters light up as... No, not unhappy. You were supposed to be happy when that happened. We're unhappy she's gone too. But you would see all of the meters kind of react to that music in the air. So, you know, we've been doing that organ, those organ pre-shows and that organ music for 88 years. And so the idea that some of the spirits that are here, it's very possible that they heard Rosa throughout the years or heard the other organists throughout the years while they were here.
Now, if you look at the Tampa Theater and how beautiful it is inside here, it was set up, it was built to reflect Mediterranean architecture, right? With an outdoor Mediterranean feel. And up above us here is the night sky with twinkling lights. It's really beautiful to watch a movie in. I've been quite a few times.
Yeah, that sky stays lit up throughout the film. And this style of theater, I mentioned John Eberson, the architect who built us. He pioneered this style that he called atmospheric. And, you know, there were a lot of theaters built in that time period. A lot of them looked like opera houses and had big crystal chandeliers and, you know, very ornate ceilings. He very much wanted to create that atmospheric experience where you felt like you were walking outside to see the movie.
Now, where are we headed next?
Let's head up to the projection booth. Again, Fink Finley was our projectionist for 35 years and was in this building 6 days a week for 35 years. So you've got to assume that a lot of things happened to him here. A lot of life experience happened while he was here. And so it's interesting to think that, you know, this may very well have been one of his favorite places. And if we have any say on where we spend the afterlife, we like to think that Fink chose Tampa Theater.
I'm listening to you, but really I'm thinking, don't fall.
Yeah, please don't fall down the stairs.
There are very steep stairs that we're climbing up, and so is Brian, our cameraman. Sorry, Brian. You're doing a great job. We're going to wait till he catches his breath, and then we're going to take our final ascent up into the projection area.
We're here doing it.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Jeremy's got a couple of
Don't fall.
stories from up here he can share.
All right. Okay, so now we're up near the projection booth. Is this it right here?
Well, this
In
takes us
here?
into the projection
Okay.
booth, but this is right underneath here, and this is a very interesting area because a lot of people who have sat up here have experienced a smell of lilac. And I may at one or two times have had that experience, and I would go, I wasn't sure if I was really smelling a flowery smell, but there have been other people who have experienced it. And so, why? What's that? What's the significance? Well, Foster Fink Finley would get here 4 hours before his shift would start. He'd bring his paper, bring his coffee, he'd go up there, and before he'd get ready to run the projection, he before he'd get dressed, he would shave. And the what was it, the aftershave? Mm-hmm. The aftershave that they used in that time period had lilac in it, or a smell of lilac. And so what we're experiencing is, 35 years of Fink coming in and shaving and still permeating up here. And so, Jill, your husband actually experienced that, didn't he?
He did.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
Don't mind the
Don't
bright
fall.
light. Don't fall.
No, my husband was definitely a skeptic and a scientist, an engineer by trade. So of course he wants hard facts. He wants data. But he came on the tour last year, and he was sitting up in this area with one of the groups, and again, just sitting and kind of taking it all in. And after the tour was over, later that night when we were headed home, he was quiet for a while, and then he says to me,
I wish you could see what I am seeing, because Brian just took a seat, which is really, he's carrying this all around the theater.
But no, as we're driving, he says, okay, so how'd you guys do that lilac thing? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I smelled it, so was that like a Glade plug-in or something that you hid under the seat, or were you piping that in somehow? I said, no, I told you, we planned nothing. So if you experience something, it's because there was something there to experience. And, he kind of thought about it for a while and, kind of harumphed because that wasn't a good enough explanation. But he has told that story to several people now. And I think he truly feels like he had an experience here that he couldn't explain. And, when you get down to it, what is paranormal but something outside the normal that we can't explain?
That is exactly right.
He's standing back up again. Does that mean we're ready to take on some
I
more
think
stairs?
so. It looks like it. He's
right.
gotten his breather. You okay, Brian? All right. Thumbs up. All right. We're going to head in here.
Yes.
All right.
9 more stories to go.
Don't worry, Brian. There's no more steps. Just kidding.
Oh. The phone just said none. I think.
Door shut.
I'll let you follow them up, and I'll follow you behind.
This is another claim that they have, that the projectionist comes up here and he goes to pull on the door. When it's not locked, there'll be as if someone's holding the other side. And some resistance. It's a big.
This is really cool. This is the projection room.
This is the projection booth. Now, this is a part of the tour that when we do the paranormal investigation, we come up here. When we do the tours during the daytime, we don't bring groups of people up here because obviously there's a lot of equipment and our brand new digital projector that we want to make sure stays safe. But most of the stories of paranormal activity come from this room. And again, if Fink spent 6 days a week...
Yikes. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I had a spot and
That's
it said
not good.
enemy.
Oh.
No,
Maybe perhaps we're not in a hostile environment, are we?
Well, it's interesting that you ask that because again, if you watch the shows on TV, I mean, there's shows out there called things like When Ghosts Attack, and they're all very, evil, awful entities and these families that have these horrible experiences. We have never had a claim like that here. Every one of the stories that's been told has been pretty positive. People get freaked out a little bit sometimes when they have these experiences they can't explain, but overwhelmingly the bulk of the stories, the bulk of the experiences have not been negative. So we really do, I think anyway, that the spirits that are here because they want to be here.
Are you getting something?
It's just off your mic.
Oh, it's off my mic. All right, so they have to stay away from me in order to get any readings.
Every time we come up to you.
Well, I was going around and I didn't actually see your mic there. At first, I was more concentrating on this.
Right.
And then as I looked up, I saw the mic and I was like, okay, that's what's causing it.
I'll tell you when I actually had a personal experience up here, and I don't have personal experiences. But one of the claims up here was somebody being tapped on the shoulder. And I didn't know that until I came to Jill and was like, told her what had happened. She said, oh, that happens up there. So
Just happened.
I was actually, we were taking some full spectrum shots with our camera, and I was moving the tripod, and actually I had a camera pointing in here, and I was actually standing right here moving my tripod, and I felt the tap on my shoulder right here, and I stopped, and immediately my mind went to this thing right here. This is something draped. I'm like, okay, I know there's a cabinet. I'm about to turn and see something like this hanging off. I obviously bumped into it. Nothing is there. I said, okay. I stopped. There was 2 other people with me, and I said, I think I just got tapped on the shoulder, and I stood here just like this, and my tech manager, he came up with this device right here, and you can see it's going off
Next to
as
my
it's
microphone.
doing, and what it's doing right there. He held this device up to my chest, and it did just that. It went full tilt. I mean, just, and I mean, for 20 seconds he went around me, and then it just dissipated, and then there was nothing. So was that Foster Fink Finley? I don't know.
The world may
but
never
it was
know.
definitely an interesting experience, but we have that experience on camera.
Yeah.
And so I just, you might get to see that on Friday. Maybe.
Well, and that's I think my favorite part of the experience on Friday night is once we've taken everybody through the building, once they've gotten to investigate for themselves, once they've gotten to hear all the stories and see all the different locations, we bring everybody back down to the auditorium, and then we show on the big screen the evidence that's been collected over the
Oh,
years.
okay, that's
so
really
we have
cool.
some great video clips. That light anomaly that Jeremy was talking about, we show that clip. There's another light anomaly that as you're standing in the auditorium and looking up at the booth, you see it flash by. There's some of those EVPs, those electronic voice phenomenon recordings, and we play those. So, and of course then we ask the guests if any of them had any experiences. And we tell them before they start. In fact, we give them a one sheet that you've been holding all evening that talks about the different tools. And the number 1 tool on the list is your own body. So if you feel cold, if you feel goosebumps, if you feel somebody tap you on the shoulder, those are the kind of stories we want to hear because we want to share that with the rest of the group.
Yeah.
You just pulled out a new toy. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, this is some voice.
This here
Your
is
voices?
this is what they call a shack hack. Okay, this is just a handheld radio, and there's a theory that when doing EVP sessions, that this thing is constantly going through each of the stations, and so while you're conducting EVPs using this device, you might get responses using this device over the different wavelengths.
Right.
And so, again, this is another device that I have been needing to test more because it's very difficult to discern answers through this. But when you get an answer over several channels, that's very interesting, which we have gotten before. Can't say that it's paranormal again,
Right.
but it's definitely very interesting.
Now, again, if you're joining us, we're here in the projection booth, and this is where
Fink
Fink
Finley.
Finley was the projectionist here. 1965.
He was here from 1930 to 1965.
And so that's where we are now. We've already been so far to the second mezzanine with the lady in white, which is where, and we've gone down to the lower level where there was the man in the fedora, which we got a lot of readings over in near seat 308, which is where he is said to sit. And we also told a story about
Robert Lanier, our ticket taker.
out in the front. So that's where we are now if you're just joining us. And if you have any photos of orbs or any kind of paranormal experiences, let us know on our Facebook page, ABC Action News. We also have some photos that we've shared of photos here taken at the Tampa Theater. There are very obviously some large circles that could be orbs, maybe not, we don't know, but they're on our Facebook page as well and on a gallery at abcactionnews.com.
And speaking of orbs, maybe you guys can talk a little bit about if people take their own photos, how can you tell what's dust and what's a bug and what might actually be a light anomaly?
Okay. You basically, when I try to tell people when they because we get emails all day long, hey, can you take a look at this? Can you take a look at this? And I tell people the biggest thing that I tell them is when you take the picture, be aware of all your surroundings. You know, I mean, if you're out on the beach and you take a picture and you see an orb on there, you're walking on sand. You got water vapor. You know, chances are you're going to get that. You know, if you're out in the middle of a cemetery in the early morning time, you got dew that's coming up. That every time you're walking across there, you're kicking it up. So, I mean, you definitely have to look at your surrounding area. So when they send us a picture, we send them a big, huge list of different questions we want to ask to see, you know, to let us to make a determination of what it could be or what it couldn't be. You know, I mean, if you're in an old house, you know, you sit on a bed, you're going to come up, you know, as
Cloud of dust.
Yeah.
let me make this. As much as people say their house is immaculate, which I've been in houses that are immaculate, but they still have dust in there. I'm sorry, ladies, but you do. You know, and I mean, you know, you walk across the carpet, you kick up dust. You know, we had one in there that we had our DVR camera set up. Beware your surroundings too. What's in there? We had the DVR set up. Every once in a while, it looked like it was snowing in the house, and I was like, "What's going on?" The crew and everybody went in. We couldn't find nothing. So we're like, this happened a couple of times. And then finally, I'm just sitting in there deducting an EVP session. All of a sudden, I heard something. I says, "It's snowing, isn't it?" And they go, "Yeah." What it is they have one of those air fresheners that go off by a timer. And it's right above where our camera was. So I mean, it was just coming down in front of the camera. So you know, definitely beware of all your surroundings when you're doing this. I'm not saying that it is legit or it isn't. Just, you know, beware of the surroundings. It'll help us determine what the cause is.
I can't believe this hour is going by so fast.
I know,
We only
I'm
have
looking
about
like-
5 minutes left. Is there anything else we can go tour before we?
Well, let's head back down to the lobby, and I think what we'll find is that Robert Lanier, our ticket taker, is no longer standing at the door because the show's almost over.
Well, one thing I do want to mention is I do want to let everybody know that one of our dear friends, Tim Yancey, is the one that's going to be a speaker here this Friday.
We don't want to
Oh,
forget
okay.
because in addition to all this cool stuff that you've seen, that we've talked about with, you know, our friends at, you know, Fire and Ice, you know, KPI Genesis, we have Tim Yancey coming to speak. You may have seen Tim Yancey on Destination America's A Haunting, telling his story. He was a haunted survivor when he was a child. But Tim Yancey is a phenomenal speaker and paranormal investigator, and he's definitely going to have some great things to talk about. So that's one part of the event you're not going to want to miss.
And if you do have
So-
questions for him, he is pretty open to answer any type of questions. He is fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to come down here to catch that 4-hour paranormal investigation here at the Tampa Theater.
I didn't realize you stopped in front of me.
All right, we're going to head downstairs again, very carefully. Matthew, what have you been getting? Have you been getting any kind of readings on your phone?
Just actually checking out Twitter. Lots of people tuning in. A couple people kind of creeped out by what they heard tonight. Someone said they had the heebie-jeebies, which I think we all did at one point.
It's much easier to go down the stairs than it is to go up. I just want to, still don't want to fall.
When we did the investigation, I think I went up and down these stairs I don't know how many times. I was wiped at the end of the night.
Definitely good exercise for everybody. All right, holding steady there, Brian. You're doing a good job.
Sorry. Keep going.
Go back this way.
Are you getting readings as we're moving around?
I'm getting dots.
I'm not getting anything on my sensor here.
I did not realize there were this many stairs here at the Tampa Theater. I do have to
We are a
say.
1926 theater that was built without an elevator.
So everybody who works here is in very good shape.
We eat popcorn all day and climb stairs all evening. It's a good fitness plan. But there are still tickets available for the event on Friday night. It's an $80 ticket, which is the 4-hour experience. We loan you the equipment that you need. Of course, you can download the phone app, but Rich and Jeremy and the team will bring a lot of their meters as well that we can share. It's also open food and open bar, so it's beer and wine and soda and coffee the whole time you're here. And then we have the folks from Dats and Dough that come in
Oh.
and cater the event for us.
Very
so they
nice.
do some great Halloween appetizers and desserts that are set up in the lobby all evening. So it's a great experience. Come hungry, come with an open mind. I'm hearing groans behind us, but I think it's the cameraman. I don't think it's any of our ghosts.
And I just got solve on my app, which probably means solve the problem of stairs
Right,
for my
exactly.
cameraman.
Fireman's pole.
Sorry.
That's what we've-
A slide.
A slide. Everybody needs a slide in their building, I think. Okay, now we're back out into the lobby of the Tampa Theater. We have been up in the projection room. We have been down into the innards of the Tampa Theater. We've been outside. We've been down by the Mighty Wurlitzer, down in seat 308, and I think that just about wraps it up for us
And
tonight.
according to my phone, it is 9 o'clock, so we have timed it just perfectly.
Wow, look at that.
Jill, just want to let you know, my wife Kim just heard someone walking down the stairs just as we were coming down.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
something else you can have.
Personal experiences happen every day.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for doing this with us, and thank you so much, Jill, for having us. I hope that you guys had a great time enjoying the Tampa Theater like we did, and you can catch a replay on abcactionnews.com. We'll have it there for you. Send us your photos at share@abcactionnews.com, and tweet us still at #ABCGhostHunt. That is it for us.
Please tag us in those posts. We'd love to see them. Come on out Friday night, and you can still get tickets at tampatheater.org.
And don't forget about it's Nightmare on Franklin Street all the way through Halloween. So thanks so much, guys. I'm Christy O'Sullivan, and this is the rest of the digital team over here. There is a very empty theater, except for us, so woo!
We're going to lock up the building and let the ghosts have it for the evening.
All right, thanks so much, guys. It was great.